And we are live. It is 5 o'clock for me here in Mountain Daylight Time, wherever you are and whenever it is for you. Welcome to Slay Security Plus. I'm joined tonight by the man, the myth, legend, DJ BSEC, and here for the next hour or so, we're going to do what we here at Slay Security Plus do: cover Security Plus content, practice questions, PBQs, answer your questions, talk mentorship, talk community, talk career building. Probably that's more with BSEC than it is with me, as I'm still working on mine. But talk career building, talk mentorship. BSEC and I are toying with going for our CISSP, so that's something that we've been talking about. Let us know in chat, how's your week going? Where are you on your Security Plus journey? And then I'm going to turn it over to BSEC for a minute. Tell us about your day. Tell us what you got cooking.
Today was a busy day, but I ended it with some fun at 3:30 my time, watching Jerry
and Finfrock. That was
the highlight of my day.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what we're talking about, then you need to go over to Jerry's channel and watch what happened at 3:30.
Drop that. I'll drop that in chat, actually. What's going on? Let's say hello to chat. I see Christopher Hanneman, Justin Gold, aka JMod, a friend of mine, moderator, killer Magic player, Christopher Whitlock from GRC, study GRC every Wednesday at 7 p.m. For you GRC fanatics. I see Cyber Chef 42. Hey, Team SC, Regine Franklin. Nice shirt. I wore this specifically for tonight's stream. More cowbell, baby. What's going on, Steph? Cluis. I like that. It's like Lewis. Oh, Jenny Housley. What is up? A Simply Cyber moderator and all-around bad lady. She rocks. I see Omniscient Void is here. ZMF is here. We got a whole crew here tonight. Welcome to Slay Security Plus. Let's drop that link for.
Just did.
Oh, you did? Perfect.
Yep.
If you guys want a little break from the craziness that is the cybersecurity, not culture, I guess, but you just want to have a different take on things, a little fresh drink of fresh bourbon, check out that link that DJ BSEC dropped.
It's still cybersecurity talk, but
yes,
with a taste of Finfrock.
FedEx says, so how many of y'all have bug out bags? Got a go bag.
I mean, I have a go bag that I have every day. Not necessarily a spy go bag, but I do have a go bag.
I used to be all about the prepping thing. I had one with I'm in Colorado, so it's a gun friendly state. I had a bug out bag with the pistols, the extra mags, a portable gas mask, all kinds of nonsense.
I mean, here we've got your hurricane, depending on what's going on, that kind of. But with that, it's more along the lines of, do you have a waterproof safe that's got all your stuff? Mm-hmm. It's kind of got everything in there, and then at that point, you just pick it up and take off if you need to. Luckily, that has not happened, and let's hope that it doesn't happen this summer either.
Right. Well, let's leave it up to chat. What do you guys think? We have Domain 3 dialed up. I've got Domain 4 dialed up. Domain 5 has about 15 questions, and those are GRC related. And we have Domain 2 and 1. We took last week off, and I want to leave it up to you, chat. Is there an area that you'd like to go over? If not, we're just going to jump right into Domain 3. That seemed to be the one that people had the most issues with. And let's look at what those domains are. Do we need first-timers? I don't think so. Colorado, my dream state to live in. It's nice out here. It may not be. We'll see. This is my home state. I'm in my hometown. I've lived all over the country, but I am currently in my hometown, and I may or may not be relocating somewhere in the South. So,
I'm in Texas. FedEx, I'm in Texas.
Oh, what part of Texas are you in? Oh, yeah, you already said this.
I'm on the Gulf Coast.
Yep.
I'm in the Houston area.
I used to live in Naples, Florida, so right across from you on the Gulf Coast.
Yeah.
Here we go. Can I share this? Oh no, why are we not? Let's share a whole window.
Boom. Is there a PBQ for every domain?
Not really. So here's where we are. If you're just getting into the Security Plus world, let's do a quick rundown of what the exam looks like. It's a max of 90 questions. I personally got 70 some. Okay, it's a max of 90 questions, multiple choice and performance based. We went over the performance based questions, and we'll go over more of those. Not tonight, but we do go over those. And the more performance based questions you have, the significant less multiple choice questions you have, and vice versa. If you've got like 2 PBQs, you're probably going to get 80, 85 multiple choice questions. It's about 90 minutes, which leaves you around 1 minute per question. The multiple choice questions, as you'll see in our practice exams coming up, are really straightforward questions, not a lot of reading. The PBQs, or the performance-based questions, on the other hand, they do have some reading. You're going to want to at least come in recommended experience. Yes, 100% you can take Security Plus with 0 experience. I'm not saying you cannot. You can get into cybersecurity or IT or whatever with 0 experience. I'm not saying you can't. I will say that having at least that Net Plus, A Plus knowledge base is going to serve you really well, because CompTIA assumes that you do. And so in a lot of this, there's just going to be assumed knowledge that you already assumes that you kind of know what a VLAN is, or ports and services. There's just some certain things that CompTIA is going to expect you to know. And you can refresh that for free. Professor Messer has his Net Plus and A Plus video series. Watch the videos, get yourself buffed up, and then jump into Security Plus.
I was going to say, it's funny because I had not read this, and I was thinking to myself, what you really need to take this, you don't need a whole bunch of experience. You probably need about 1 to 2 years in IT. And lo and behold, it says you need a minimum of about 2 years in IT. All you really need is like that help desk experience, just to kind of get
really
you
the lingo, I would think, like just the jargon, to have the conversation, and kind of
think security.
Think security, and remember, we're thinking Sec Plus, so we're not thinking like a manager. We're 100% thinking at an operational level. Whereas when we're studying for the CISP or CISSP, it's management. You're not thinking like a keyboard cowboy. You're thinking way more like a manager. So this is where we're at, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. We have, oops, that's not what we want. Here are our domains. Take a look at those and see where we want to work out of today. We can switch through them. Evan Kirstein, or is that Kirstein? I better get it right, because you're going to be my roommate at Wild West Hacking Fest.
I think everybody's been talking about hurricane season. So for those that don't know, hurricane season starts June 1st and ends November 31st. So when it's hurricane season, that's usually, in fact, Jerry is actually in hurricane land too, over there in South Carolina. But you got Florida, the Gulf Coast, and the East Coast as hurricane country. It's not fun. Not fun for 6 months. 6 months out of the year, everybody's
bunkered down, kind of.
Everybody's puckered up and watching what's going on. I think we talked, and I think we're looking at maybe we start off with domain 3.
I think
see where everybody's at, and then
I see domain. Yep, I see Missy. I said domain 2 and domain 3. Let's do that, BSEC. Let's start with 3, and we'll go back into 2, and we'll wrap it up with some AMA, jaw-jacking, Slay Security Plus updates and all that stuff. That sound good?
Yeah, this works.
Let's do it. Go into 3. For some of you, these questions very well may be repeated almost ad nauseum. One thing I stress, whether it's Professor Messer's practice tests, if you have the unfortunate luck of being stuck with the Udemy practice tests from the Dion camp, whatever you're using, you're going to memorize them. You're going to memorize the question. Memorize the concept behind the question. And I know that's a given, and you're like, well, duh, Jess. If you let that mentality of just looking at the question and going, I already know the answer, go to the next one, it's going to bite you in the butt. You need to make sure that even if you've seen that question a gabillion times, find a new way to get something out of it, because it's about memorizing the concepts and then the sub-concepts around those concepts, like a dream within a dream. Let's do a new one. So to recap with everybody, we're going to be teaching out of, we're doing practice questions from Domain 3, Security Architecture. Our practice questions tonight are by way of the Professor Messer study series, the study bundle. Paid for that out of pocket, and now I want to make sure you guys can get it for free. I don't feel bad doing it because I'm not sponsored. I'm not giving out the information for free. I'm just studying, and you're studying along with me. And in my opinion, the Professor Messer stuff, it's the best in the business, hands down, and it's really affordable. So yeah, and if you have a hard time and you want the Professor Messer stuff, please DM me. I am currently collaborating with somebody that's here in chat. I don't know if we can go public with it yet, on a fund where we're going to collect funds. We already have some in the bank, I believe, to buy Professor Messer and study materials for people. We don't have a lot of money, but I am collaborating currently, having talks with somebody in chat about a fund for people to get the stuff, right? The Professor Master stuff is $50 for the whole bundle. But yeah, let us know if that's something you're interested in. We'd be happy to help out. So this is what it looks like, everybody. I'm going to put this on full screen. If this is your first time joining us, what you do, yes, Jenny Housley, you don't even have to have the app. Rich464, hashtag love this crew. We love you, Rich464. Without you, there is no SlaySec Plus. Scan your QR code with your device or go to vivox.app and use the ID 128-177-981 or scan the QR code. No nonsense. It should take you right to this exam. We do kindly ask at Slay Security Plus that you avoid putting your answers or guesses in the chat. And the reason is because when we have answers in chat, it can cause the lemming syndrome. We see one person chooses C, so everybody chooses C. Or you could get a little bit of imposter syndrome. If you really want to just try and answer the question, but maybe you're a person that doesn't test well, you're terrified to get it wrong. This way, you vote on the app. It's completely anonymous. We don't see anything.
I think everybody saw the answer because I put it in there before.
On this one?
Yeah. Right before you hit it, the answer went across. We'll
That's
see.
funny.
Yep, there we go.
Do you want to talk through this one?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's... Right now, I think we're sitting at 100%. Well, let's see what we get. Because we're sitting at 100%. But we've read through this multiple times. And what we want to remember this is we're talking about documentation. I think prior to this, a lot of people have put in here like tabletop exercise. It's definitely not platform diversity or cold site recovery. The only two options in this is going to be continuity of operations or like a tabletop exercise. And remember, a tabletop exercise is something that you run with a business area, within the area of a business. A business manager is documenting the steps. So if you're documenting steps, you're documenting what's going to happen to create the continuity of operations or continuity of business. That's about it.
That's about it. And there's things in the question you can take. Like I like to break this question down because you'll see more of these questions in the Security Plus and in these multiple choice world. I'll tell you what, the CISSP questions though. Phew. A business manager is documenting a set of steps for processing orders if the primary internet connection fails. Let's pause there. A business manager is documenting a set of steps for processing orders, right? So every day a business has to operate. So when we look at the answers, you see this one that says operations. What I want you to start to do is start to almost fill in the question with some of the possible answers that they give you, right? A business manager is documenting a set of steps for processing orders if the primary internet connection fails. So this business, whatever it is, they process orders for widgets, okay? And if the primary internet connection fails, they can no longer continue the operations of selling widgets. So the best option here would be that continuity of operations. And if you don't pick that one, I agree with BSEC. I think the next best one would probably be a tabletop exercise because that is kind of a documented series of steps and options. If something goes wrong, then we do this and we do that. Yeah,
tabletop is kind of what Jesse and I are doing right now. We're talking through everything. In all reality, in the real world, if you read this, you first turn around and you look at that business manager and say, why do we only have one internet connection? Why don't we have a backup?
We're already, we're thinking on that management level. Problem. We're going like, wait a minute, do we only have, really? Like, if that fails, we're,
we have one point of failure, we're screwed. Yeah, not one. Have multiple points of failure, not a single point of failure.
Okay, next one. Let's roll. Oh, it's gonna bust through it. 100% of you. Great job, class. All right, a network administrator would like each user to authenticate with their corporate username and password when connecting to the company's wireless network. Which of the following should the network administrator configure on the wireless access points? WPA3, 802.1x, PSK, is that public shared key, or MFA, multi-factor authentication? This is a good one. Think about this one.
Yeah, now I'm trying to think about one specific one in here.
And this is not a weighted question. I don't see the word best. I don't see the word most. There's not multiple answers. So this is a CompTIA question where you either get it or you don't. And we've had conversations on in previous podcasts and previous sessions where we know that CompTIA does partial credit when you see best and most. It's a little giveaway. Authenticate. So we know from our IT world that to authenticate with the corporate username and password when connecting to the company's wireless network, my brain starts to go federated access. And I could be way off, but I start to think either one of two things: single sign-on or federated access, right? When we had this conversation, I think I talked about this one last time. We know that single sign-on is really just you sign on one time and you have access to these different applications, whereas a federated framework or a federated network means that I'm using my Jesse at Slay Security Plus and my Jesse at Slay Security Plus password to sign on to like a different business, but I'm using my company's credentials, the federated network.
Being in the field for as long as I have, I see this. My first thing goes to a Radius server.
Radius server, yep.
I would, if I was
Zach Hill, welcome.
If I was looking at this question, the first thing I would do is be like, the network administrator would like each user to authenticate with their corporate username and password to Wi-Fi. So we're talking about wireless connections, right? Mm-hmm. What on here 100% is not a user authenticating with their username and password?
To me, MFA stands out. And PSK.
PSK. Pre-shared key. That means somebody has already set up a password for you to log in. So that is not a username and that's not a password. 100%. Gone, right?
Gone. So scratch that one away. Remember, we're trying to get to, there is no award for the longest study time, and there is no award for the longest time that you can spend on a question. So the quicker that you can deduct which answers are absolutely not the correct ones, then you can start having that mental conversation with which ones are the correct ones.
MFA, so we're talking about multi-factor authentication, could still use your username and password as one of the factors to log in. So that kind of still sits there. WPA3 is, what is WPA3? You have WPA, WPA2, now you got WPA3.
Well, we're kind of in WPA3.
Yeah.
And then what is 802.1x? We know that 802.1x is a framework that discusses wireless connections.
Discusses a lot. It discusses network connections.
Which of the following should the network administrator configure on the wireless access points? Everybody that's voted is going to vote, and we see it split kind of all over the place, with 802.1x taking the lead, WPA3 and MFA at the bottom. Let's see what the survey says. If my fingers will work. Come on, Jess.
I'm going to send this over to you real quick. Maybe you can throw this up, and it'll show.
Sweet. Correct answer is 802.1x. 802.1x uses a centralized authentication server. This allows all users to use their corporate credentials during the login process. And let's go here. Bear with me. Not practice exams. We want the notes, Mr. Messer.
I just sent you a link that shows exactly what IEEE 802.1x is and does. It's got Jerry's little we can play the saxophone for it.
Can you? Do you have that dialed up?
I don't have it on here. I mean, I could hit it and we could play it, but I sent you a link in Discord. If you pull that up, you'll see.
Okay. Ignore the toddler back there. We are here we go. And this is why I really like the Messer notes, is he takes every single thing that is in the CompTIA objectives and literally explains them in order without missing anything or without including stuff that just doesn't make any sense. So can't recommend the Professor Messer stuff enough.
Yeah, if you pull what I sent you up, it's got a graphic and actually shows and explains how it goes back and forth real quick.
I remember how to use Discord.
Discord? There it is, right there.
Try to make it a little bigger for everybody, if it'll let me.
So you can see the end user, what they're going to do is they see the SSID, they click on it to connect. That then sends the username and password to the Radius server. Most Radius servers are sitting on site, and the Radius server usually connects back into a Active Directory server of some sort to authenticate the person. The access is accepted and authenticated and sends it back over to the intranet and allows the person to get on. So there you go.
Yep, and this Radius server is key. You may see a question on that on Security Plus, but also if you see, I can't remember the exact acronym, but basically TACACS, TACACS
same type
Plus,
of thing.
Same thing, but Cisco proprietary.
Yep.
So they don't do that too much on security. They did a little bit on 601. On 701, I haven't seen very much vendors at all, any vendor specific stuff. But because Cisco is still a massive player, it's never hurts to have a little bit of Cisco knowledge. The Radius server. Damn, always forgetting that, Trevor says. And if you don't know, now you know. Which of the following considerations are most, in all caps and boldened, commonly associated with a hybrid cloud model? This question also kind of threw some of us students off. Let's go through this. Which of the following considerations are most commonly associated with a hybrid cloud model? A, microservices outages. So be familiar with what microservices are, how they sit, maybe be familiar a little bit with Docker, that kind of stuff when it comes to cloud computing going into Security Plus.
It's kind of at the bottom with the containerization.
Containerization backups. D, B as in boy, IoT support, or C, network protection mismatches. And yeah, the cloud may not be the hottest, sexiest thing still, but more and more companies, we're still seeing people, especially at those like software, at those that SaaS level, we're still seeing more and more people using the cloud for the SaaS stuff. And then we are actually seeing companies bringing back some of their IT infrastructure back on-prem because they go, A, I have management over it, and the cloud sounds wonderful, but it's expensive. And when you go to scale, it just might not be best for every single business. So we are seeing, especially in the SMB world, bringing back some of that IT infrastructure back to on-premises. So for some of you that thought I can never be an on-prem guy anymore and protect on-prem Active Directory, I don't think it's going anywhere. You got to think about how many organizations have legacy equipment too.
That also comes back to kind of more like the CISSP level, because you're thinking more about management, which you're talking more along CapEx versus OpEx. Because in the cloud would be OpEx, whereas if you went and bought all your equipment, that would be CapEx, because you have that capital expenditure that you're going to be able to push across 5 years, 6 years, however long. So you can spend $100,000.
And when you're talking to the, yeah. Getting me all pumped up. Let's go through some of these really quick. 15 of you have voted or have put in your answer. We see microservices outages. Well, let's talk about what a hybrid cloud model is, right? We can look at this kind of one of two ways. With this question, we're more looking at the companies, like the company that I used to work with. I helped manage our Azure Intra ID or Azure Active Directory, however you want to call it. But then we are also starting to implement the entire Google Education workspace. And so I was, I guess, managing two different cloud platforms using both. Plus we had on-premises Active Directory. So
we realize the question here is literally hybrid cloud. It's not hybrid. When you think hybrid, then you're thinking on-prem and everything. This is specifically talking about hybrid cloud, meaning more than one cloud provider.
Right. It might be a private and two publics. You might have a private cloud provider, and then you might use Entra ID for your identity and access management. And then you might have, I don't know, the Google Workspace or a bucket, something in the Azure, something in the AWS environment setup, right? So a hybrid of different clouds, right? What are some of the considerations going into this? Hey, Trevor, police department in my area is hiring network administrator, needs to have experience with Windows Server 2008 12 R2.
Good God.
Oh my gosh. Are you serious?
Do not go there.
Don't go there. You're going to be...
If they already have 2008 and 2000, what I would do is I would interview and I would tell them that they need to upgrade now.
Or reach out to them. Hey, I am a former cop. Didn't do it for a super long time, but I am Jesse Johnson. I am a former cop. I can tell you right now, police departments, when I would go to different agencies, I would see so many that had legacy equipment, no password protection, definitely no MFA, because you're a cop, you're in a hurry. The last thing you want to do is like put in extra stuff.
We're talking life and death of not being able to get into something.
So Trevor, you might want to reach out to that police department and say, hey, my name is Trevor. I'm a practicing cybersecurity, whatever, professional. I noticed that the job requirement says this, pardon me, I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but y'all looking to get ransomed, right?
Just going to throw that out there.
FedEx, what's up? welcome to the party, pal. If there is not a good reason for legacy, then get GTFO, LOL. And Justin Gold, our resident
legacy person,
legacy OT, IT support, cyber support for the OT community. Kind of knows a thing or two in that realm. All right, let's look at these answers. Boom. We're getting there, class. I like this better than the previous answers. The last few times we've done this, it was spread all over the place. Awesome work, team. Now, we see the most up here, and I won't take too much time, but we see the most up here, which can all usually tell you this is a weighted question, that maybe if you don't get the best answer, that if you get the one that's close, you'll still get some points. Again, why it's unbelievably important you answer every question to the best of your ability. We know it's not IoT support. IoT is Internet of Things. You know, we want to consider microservices outages. I don't think it's the most commonly associated with the hybrid cloud model. Containerization backups. I mean, if you can back them up and test them, that shouldn't be the biggest consideration. I like network protection mismatches, right? And you guys hit on it too. You don't need me to explain it anymore. But if you're using different cloud models, they could have different levels of protection, different SLAs with what they cover, different, that shared responsibility. It could be different between cloud providers. Hybrid cloud includes more than one private or public cloud. This adds additional complexity to the overall infrastructure, and it's common to inadvertently apply different authentication options and user permissions across multiple cloud providers. And I'm sure, BSEC, you could speak into that as somebody who kind of works in that so much of those different areas.
I was adding the sexy stuff. I wasn't listening. No, but when it comes to the hybrid cloud, you're looking at a lot of this stuff is going to be dealing with like disaster recovery. Like you may be running something in Azure cloud as your primary, but then have a backup in AWS or in GCP or failover of some sort. So that's all this is. This is talking about how you have it set up within Azure versus AWS and the connections between the two. And there may be some network mismatches that you need to look at.
What do I have going on? So I got a honeypot VM that I was working through, and I connected it to Log Analytics Workspace, working through my own little sim lab. It's pretty fun. You know, you can sign up $200 free credit, get yourself an Azure account, and just start building. Spin up like, I don't know, 3 or 4 Windows VMs, spin up a Kali box, and not just hack, but hack and then go on the other side and look at the logs. Even if you don't have a sim set up necessarily, or that's still maybe you're not there yet. Well, Google what logs are, right? We have ChatGPT 4.0 now, or even 3.5 if you're doing the free one. Build the free $200 Azure account and go on Google or YouTube and whip yourself up a home lab. Start doing it, go through it, and take it to that next level. Don't just hack it and be like, oh, I rooted the Active Directory, like we're done. No. Go back, go through the logs, see how you got in. And then if you really want to one-up, write your own pen test report. And then if you want to go crazy, write yourself an audit report on the GRC side. I think of pen testing and auditing like cousins. These are all things you can do on your own. I'm going on a rant here to build up that resume, because right now, I'm telling you, in 2024, experience isn't getting you hired, right? It's that networking plus experience plus internal referrals are going a long way. And remember, everything's cyclical. So if you're not getting jobs now, just stick it out. There will come a time when your experience, the right job for you, and your level of training, those things will coincide, and it's just going to happen. The hard part is staying on course, because it can be very discouraging. But I'm telling you from personal experience, not only in cybersecurity, but in many other industries. You know, I'm almost 50 now, and the longer you just ride out the storm in many cases, especially when you have a goal that's set, if you keep doing what you're supposed to be doing, at some point, the nexus of those roads cross and you're hired. And then you can't stop. You got to keep learning, right? You got to keep going.
I want to, real quick. So Trevor put something in here about how around in his area it's only city or region, and probably a huge mess. And then Justin replied, which great reply, talking about SLED in South Carolina. Their organization, SLED is, that actually does offers free services. And I was going to say CISA also offers free services in your region. You'd have to find like the regional director. But then Trevor threw in that he's north of the border in Canada. And I do believe Canada, that they do have something kind of like what CISA does. So you may want to look into that if you decide to take that type of a job, just like Justin saying, if you do take a job like that, then be prepared to turn around and have something to say, hey, look, y'all are on 2008, 2012 server. This came out in like 2008 server, I believe came out in 2006. You don't get patched anymore, so there's no patches. Right?
You can't even pay Microsoft. you can't even pay them like with Windows 10.
And 2012 is already so far behind that you can't patch that. I mean, you can patch up to 2016, I believe.
2008?
Yeah, we're talking R2. So just like Justin said, if you do interview for it, you get the job, just be prepared to turn around with something in your hand saying, hey, look, this is something we've got to figure out how to upgrade, update, however, and then look out for an MSP in the area or maybe some type of federal help or government help in the area as well. Old as hell. That's exactly right.
Hashtag the olds. Let's go. Jenny Housley. Hey, Jenny, which one would be a possibility for partial credit? One of the things that you can look for after this question is in the question where it might say, well, I'll point it out on the next one so we're not getting too confused here. A city is building an ambulance service network for... a city is building an ambulance service network for emergency medical dispatching. Which of the following would have the highest priority? A, integration costs, CISSP manager, right? B, patch availability, C, system availability, or D, power usage. Look at what the company does. What are their operations, the day-to-day? What do they do from day to day? And then look which one of those would be the most important, the highest priority in an ambulance service.
The omniscient void said, damn, almost 50. You look like you're 36.
That's the camera.
It takes off 20 years.
I don't know, man. This morning, man, I was haggard as heck, and I didn't look too bad.
Well, that's called homesickness.
Oh, dude, yeah.
I mean, I'm older than Jesse, so
we're just big kids, dude. All right, 15 to 16 of you have voted on this one. That was really quick, which tells me that we're flying through these and we're learning. I'm gonna go ahead and just slam it because I got 17. Let you guys vote. Jenny, I'm keeping your question here on stream so we can make sure we revisit it. Space Tacos, hashtag over 50 and whooping ass. Whooping arse. Boop. Sorry, Kennedy. I have my beeper, but it's not piped in. I don't know. Is it? Can you guys hear that?
That's what I need to do. I need to go through and get a sorry Kennedy and put it in there.
Oh, you do? From Jerry saying it.
Yeah.
That's funny. I would totally use that clip. Let's look at some 50. Of the answers. What's up?
Over 50.
Space Tacos, there ain't no way. I've hung out with you, and there's no way you're over 50. Well, integration costs, those are, that's probably on their priority list, but I don't think it's the highest priority. Patch availability, you gotta remember that, you gotta patch it. Sometimes patching a system could take it down for an extended period of time, longer than the reset cycle. I was reading somewhere like if a company wanted to fully switch Linux servers, it could take up to a month total to get things completely switched over. So when we patch and upgrade, sometimes it's not a quick fix. So probably not the highest priority. It's a priority, right? We want to have our patching taken care of. Remember, just like Jerry says, cyber resiliency. There's only so much we can do. What are those priorities of risk and reduction? Like, what are we trying to reduce, right? How can we reduce that attack surface? Power usage. If it's a city building, they're not concerned with power usage. That's all being taken care of. What are the 3 pillars of cybersecurity, folks? Come on.
Yeah, they're probably not worried about power usage. If that said power availability,
different
that might be
story. 100% agree. Remember, CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. There is only one answer on here that has to do with that CIA triad, and that should be your answer, right? We see patch availability, but that's not really what we're talking. We're thinking system. My brain goes system availability and ambulance service, right? So let's take that. Let's start thinking of that question. And now, Slayers, let's take it to that even next level.
Think about it as a patient.
Please.
That's what I would think it like. It's a medical system. Now, as a patient, what do I want to make sure that they have what availability that they need to make sure that they have for me as a patient?
That system is working. I want to live.
I'm pretty sure as a patient, I don't give a dang about cost or worried about patches. We've got 17 and 17. So you definitely want to worry about system availability.
Yep. This is going to be, you're going to be like, dude, Jesse, you're just telling me stuff that I can get off of Google. But it's true. You got to look at every question with the CIA triad in mind. Don't forget that. Like, sometimes we get into the weeds on the answers. Go back to the CIA triad and what is it? Or the dad triad on the reverse, right? Destruct something and destroy. I can't remember what the dad triad is. But know the CIA triad and use that as a litmus test, right? Good job, class.
Don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it, especially on Security Plus.
Disclosure, denial, and destruction.
That's what it was. Disclosure, denial, destruction.
Exactly. I understood that you were dying, but we needed to make sure the system was patched. No, you should patch me, not the system.
Here we go. A little more room to the quiz. A company creates a standard set of government reports each calendar quarter. Which of the following would describe this type of data? A, data in use. B, obfuscated. C, trade secrets. Or D, regulated. Learn data in use, data in transit, and data at rest. Get very familiar with what those are. And in fact, we had a Slayer reach out to me and wants to talk through that question. So if you're in chat and you want to go through that data at rest, I'd be more than happy to work through that.
There's one word in this that gives it away.
And it's not obfuscated.
No.
Right? We're not talking about what do we do to the data. It doesn't say a company creates a standard set of government reports each calendar quarter to protect the confidentiality of the report. Some names have been, embedded into the page to where you have to look at an image or something like, right? We're not talking about any kind of encryption or hiding within plain sight. It doesn't ask about that. So we can scratch obfuscated off the list. Trade secrets. Well, a company creates a standard set of government reports each calendar quarter. Doesn't sound like trade secrets to me. Yeah, ZMF, I will say it is incredibly hard to tag you. I don't know what you do to do it. I don't know if you put a space between, but like on YouTube, when we all want to say good morning to you, it's hard because I type in ZMF, Zmare, and it doesn't come up. I am waiting for the day when a kid in a hospital somehow has their Xbox controller connected to the surgical robot. Or how about
that already happens.
Didn't they try that with a submarine?
They actually they all died. But yeah, that's what they use. They used a Xbox controller. But that's basically what doctors use. Doctors use Xbox controller-ish things to do what am I thinking? What surgery is it that I'm thinking of? Arthroscopic surgery.
Yeah. Data in use. All right. When you think data in use, let's break these down. Data in transit. What should that tell you? Well, it's in transit. It's going across a medium of some kind, whether that's across a Wi-Fi, which stands for wireless fidelity. So break down every concept into a sub-concept, right? So whether that's going over wireless fidelity, Wi-Fi, that's going over Ethernet, that's going over fiber optic. Data in transit is data that's going places between workstations, from client to server, from server to client, back and forth. Data in transit, right? Data in use you go, well, isn't that kind of like data in use? When you think data in use, think, what is your computer doing now? What's in the RAM? What programs are open? That would be our data in use, things that are actively being, and I'm sure there's more specifics. This is at a high level, but data in use is the things that we're working with. What's in our RAM right now? What's the computer doing? And then data at rest, we can think of it data at rest of any data that's stored, whether that's on a physical hard drive, whether that's on a logical hard drive, whether that is tape backups in a vault somewhere. That's data at rest. All three of them have different things and different, when I say things, all three of them have considerations that you need to think about as a security professional and how you're going to secure them. And even more so, some of them are highly regulated when it comes to GRC, especially that data at rest, data in use. I mean, if you can imagine data at rest, PII, right, that's stored somewhere. So get familiar with data at use, data in rest, data in transit. (85.71) of you slayers say that it is regulated, and the correct answer is regulated. Reports and information. Whoa, went back to 12 again. Reports and information created for governmental use are regulated by laws regarding the disclosure of certain types of data. We're at about the halfway mark, which is a perfect time to let you know that Slay Security Plus is proudly sponsored by the kind folks over at Simply Cyber, simplycyber.io. So whether you're looking to level up your career, jump in, check out simplycyber.io. I got a short video. We're going to pay some bills, and then we're going to get right back to the learning.
Are you feeling lost in the vast world of cybersecurity, overwhelmed by technical jargon and confusing career paths? You're not alone. That's why I built Simply Cyber. Hi, I'm Dr. Gerald Ozier. Come join Simply Cyber, your supportive and inclusive community for navigating the exciting world of cyber. There's so much to take advantage of. Master the skills you need with Simply Cyber Academy, offering in-depth courses aligned with the GRC analyst role. Never feel isolated. Connect with fellow cyber enthusiasts and professionals in our thriving Discord server. Ask questions, get feedback, share your journey. Check out the Simply Cyber YouTube channel, delivering insightful interviews. What are your thoughts around, web app pen testing as entry level? And I included bug bounty here because that's very accessible to everybody. Practical skill demos and daily cyber threat briefs, all hosted by industry experts. There's so much more to discover. Are you ready to join the community and empower your future? Visit simplycyber.io/socials for all the links and start your cyber adventure today.
Let's go. Thank you, Dr. Gerald Ozier. Appreciate your support, your friendship, and your mentorship. It goes a long way, and we love paying it forward to the community. All right.
So we missed the regulators.
Mount up. Trevor on the street. Time to consume some skirts. Folks.
Everybody's screaming regulators, so we got.
Let's go. Gosh, dude, that whole era of rap and hip hop is just clutch. All right, a company is installing a new public application or a new application in a public cloud. Which of the following determines the assignment of data security in this cloud infrastructure? A, playbook, B, audit committee, C, responsibility matrix, or D, right to audit clause?
There's a lot of audit stuff in here. Space tacos, what do you got?
Let's go. Nate Dogg, RIP Nate Dogg, Cyber Chef 42. The smoothest voice in hip hop.
Dude, that song, that thing hit.
Let's look through some of these. And I tell you slayers / students / friends of Slay Security Plus, if you're looking through these questions and you're just stumped, Google it. Jump on ChatGPT, figure it out. Because at the end of the day, it's so much more important that you get the answer in your head and start committing it to memory or committing that concept to memory than it is just struggling and be like, well, I don't know, so I'm just going to be frustrated and don't know. If you don't know, it's been a few minutes or it's been jaw-jacking for a minute, Google that sucker. Get the information you need to get.
If you don't know, now you know.
Now you know. Got my daughter's rubber duck here on my desk because I had a job interview today, and I looked at that when I was looking at inspiration sometimes, and yeah, I'm a sentimental guy like that. Learn the concept, Space Taco said. She's been rocking with Slay Security Plus since the get-go. And before that, her and I were rocking in Professor Messer's study groups together. Learn the flippin' concept.
Learn the concept.
And understand what, yeah.
And why do you learn the concept? Because if you just go in with a memorized answer, that does nothing for you when you actually get out there in the real world. Then you're like, oh crap, I remember the question, but I don't know how to do it or what this means. Exactly. I just knew that it was probably A.
If you even get the job, just so what, you take Security Plus. If you don't memorize the concepts and understand how they work in a bigger picture, when you go, you make it through HR, right? Well, then your next interview is probably going to be with somebody who's a technical interview. They're going to ask you questions. And if you memorize just the answers and you start spitting back Security Plus answers, thank you so much for you so much for your time.
Well, they will dig into it to actually find out if you're just spouting off stuff that you like. They'll know that, hey, you're a book security person, you're not a cybersecurity person. I guess that's the best way to put it.
And if you are a theory-based cybersecurity profession, you maybe have some certs, you don't have landed that first job yet, you don't have any IT hands-on experience, you got to create it for yourself, whatever that looks like for you. It's going to look like different for everybody. You got to create it for yourself, because just like BSEC said, you get into that second or third interview and it's a technical person. They don't care about your soft skills at all. Trust me. They want to know, do you know the stuff? And if you don't, do you have the cojones to say, you know what, I don't know, but give me a few seconds and I can Google the heck out of it. I can AI the heck out of it. I will find it out. I will learn it and I will commit it to memory. And they may look at you a little different than if you just start spouting off 701 knowledge. Talk to me about Active Directory. Oh, baby, you speaking my language. That's my saxophone.
Oh.
Talk to you about Active Directory. Active Directory is the, identity and access management / domain services. It's actually called Active Directory Domain Services would be the full thing. And it was implemented. It's I don't even know what to call it, a program, framework. It's meant to really manage all of your identity and access management within your environment, not just people, objects, files, computers. It's a phone book. It's the phone book of it's the directory. It is the active living directory of your entire company's network. IP addresses, printers, people, we call them objects, but everything's an object, right? And it's managed in Active Directory. Active Directory what's up?
Within it's not necessarily within Active Directory, but within the Active Directory modules and so forth, usually on an Active Directory server, you've got your DNS and your IP schemes and all of that built in. So
you got domain services. You've got you can use Active Directory for your certificate management. If you have a PKI, you can use that for PKI. Active Directory is like the
group policies. Yeah,
group policies. Learn Active Directory. No matter where you go, you forgot Policy Manager. Policy Manager.
That's group policy.
Yep, but get familiar with it, and a great place to do it is the TCM PJPT, Practical Junior Penetration Tester. Even if you just get that and study and never take the cert, it's a phenomenal certification. So is the PNPT, the one above that. You're hacking Active Directory, but you're also learning how to defend it at the same time, which is clutch because people still use Active Directory. That's not going away anytime soon.
Well, and a lot of people are actually moving off of Active Directory and moving into Azure Active Directory or Intra ID, whatever you want to call it.
And really, I quote unquote managed both, and Intra ID and
they're the same
on-prem. They almost use the same lingo. I mean, it's
Microsoft basically took what they had on-prem and went, how do we put this in the cloud for everybody to use? You get more out of what's in the cloud than you will for on-prem, because you get built-in MFA, you get all kinds of different conditional access. There's more there, but you're also paying a premium monthly for it.
You are, and I cannot stress the importance of conditional access. I worked for a company that opted to not use conditional access, and I was constantly battling phishing attempts, logins, IP log, from all over the world. I was hitting up BSEC all the time. Like if it was, I'm like, dude, can you help me? Like this is like some crazy Middle Eastern login. It looks like they got a success. It was just, and the reason they went from Azure Active Directory and renamed it Entra ID, because the Entra ID component actually only manages the identity part, right? So that's like your login, whereas Active Directory Federated Services or Active Directory on-prem domain services, they kind of manage like the whole kit and caboodle. Microsoft didn't feel that Azure Active Directory was a correct representation of what it actually did, which was manage that identity and access management piece.
Scream that from the rooftop, Manny. E5 is the way to go. It is expensive, but it is the way to go.
It is the way to go. Manny Cadiz, what is going on? Welcome to the party, pal. Good to have you.
You get it all. That's like getting your cake and eating it too.
It's worth it though. Like
it is.
We got the school signed up with basically the Google version of that, and it was nice because I could set those kids' like devices up. We could lock them down way better than we could when it was just like free for all, obviously.
Intune and everything else.
All right, Slayers, you're absolutely crushing it today. You guys are showing that we're learning, we're retaining. We're going to move off of domain 3 here in a second, go into domain 2, I think. Real quick, CyberChef42, got to bounce and put the kiddo to bed. Peace out all. Have a blessed evening and slay, slay, slay. CyberChef42, I hope you have a blessed evening getting those kiddos down, and hopefully we'll see you in the morning or the next time. You guys are right.
Answered Jenny.
Well, we haven't got one with the most or best yet, and I was waiting to get one, but it's still, I keep wanting to bring it up, and we just haven't got one of those questions yet. You guys nailed it. You're learning it. A hybrid cloud responsibility matrix. Remember, we have that shared responsibility matrix where we look at that from the Professor Messer notes, and I want to visualize this, guys. We're not going to bring up visualize it. On-prem, you're responsible for everything, the infrastructure, the programs, the coding, everything. And the farther you move from that on-prem to, software as a service, the less responsibility, doesn't mean you don't have any, but the less responsibility that you have, and more that we are going to actually look at the infographic because I don't want to mislead anybody. Shared responsibility matrix. How about if I typed in matrix? There it is. Hopefully you guys can see that. Now, this is obviously at a high level, right? And not everything is going to be to the T exact. But when we look at the shared responsibility matrix, we start over here on-prem, right? On-prem blue is customer managed. Take care of all of it. The network controls, the operating systems, the physical host, the physical network, the physical data center. It's all in your house. It's in your yard. Then we move to IaaS, or infrastructure as a service. And we see now that the provider, or the cloud service provider, they're managing the physical data center, the physical network, and the physical host, the computers, right? It's a computer in somebody else's house that you're using. Then we move more to the cloud model, and we see this platform as a service. They kind of manage all of this, and they help manage the network controls. I'm glad Professor Messer did the half and half here and doesn't just say that all of a sudden that they fully manage the network controls, because that's not entirely true. And they don't fully manage the identity and directory infrastructure, right? But they do more of that management. Then we move to the software as a service. And when we see software as a service, we see that the provider, the cloud service provider, is managing almost all of it. You still have to manage your information data, the devices, the accounts and identities. And it doesn't leave out, it doesn't mean that you're obscured from having to do the identity and directory infrastructure. It's just going to be partially handled by that cloud service provider. This is the shared responsibility or the cloud responsibility matrix that you hear of. Just think on-prem, in my living room, it's all me. I got to own it. But I want to have just the computer and the cables be at BSEC's house, and I'm going to pipe in on the internet and use those resources. Well, that's like an infrastructure service. Well, now that computer is still at BSEC's house, but I want to put a platform on there of some kind. So now I'm managing less, BSEC's managing more. Well, I want to take it to that next level. I just want to sign in and go to work. I just want to use whatever the software is. Well, now all that's at BSEC's house, and now he's also helping with the software part of it. So that's one way that we can think of that shared responsibility matrix. Talking about microservices, right? Again, you want to revisit this when we talk about the cloud workspaces and how cloud works. But if we look at the old school style, we see you have the client and that just sits, and then here's our database. Well, when we look at the microservice architecture or the cloud architecture, we got the client, then we have our API gateways, right? API application programming interfaces. You can look at these as, when I think of APIs, I think of little buddy programs that go out and get information from other programs to work with the one that you're working with at a high level, right? They're these little feelers that go out and they come back with information. And then we have this, here's your microservice, and off of each microservice is a database, which again, we look at this, the microservice architecture versus the monolithic architecture. Which one do you think is more scalable, right? Which one do you think, if you're running an enterprise, which one do you think gives you the most control over what you're doing? Well, most likely the microservice architecture at that level. I hope that helps a little bit. A company would like to securely deploy applications without the overhead of installing a virtual machine for each system. Well, we were just talking about this. Which of the following would be the best way to deploy these applications? Jenny Housley, I am talking to you. Do you see where it says best here? This is a dead giveaway when you see best, most. If I remember right, CompTIA, at least for mine, they do at least all caps, the best and the most. What that's telling you is that there's probably a better and a best option. And so if you don't maybe get the best option, you can get partial credit for at least getting close. Typically with these, when you see the best, there's going to be two answers that are off the reservation that are not correct. You'll have one answer that could fit and then one that's just a little bit better. Didn't talk about this a ton, but let's break down what we know, just from what we know about cloud technology. Let's talk about what is not the correct answer. Well, this company wants to securely deploy applications without the overhead of installing virtual machines for each system. Well, what's a virtual machine, Jesse? Let's rewind a little bit. You got a hypervisor. I'm just going to use my regular Windows computer server, my computer here as an example. It runs Windows as it used to run in Ubuntu, but I switched back to Windows. That's my daily driver, right? Well, on Windows, I've downloaded a program called VMware or VirtualBox, right? Those are called hypervisors. I believe they're type 2 hypervisors. That just means that I open my Windows computer and then I fire up VM, right? We fire up that VM. So if you're just getting to cyber and you're going, well, what is he even talking about? We can spin one up really quick and I'll show you. Let's walk through my home lab, right? I've got a firewall. All right, it's a fully configured firewall. Whenever I do hacking, this is my entire lab. So we've got a firewall. We've got a Kali Linux box that's spun up, a parent security that I like to bounce between. We've got Academy. That is the Academy box. You can get that from VulnHub. I have that dual home, meaning that it is externally facing, but it's also internally built into this small Active Directory network that I put in with a Windows Server 2019. And I also put a Windows 7 box that's super highly vulnerable, right? It's really fun because I can just abuse it. And
XP, Windows 7.
It's brutal. So what's a hypervisor? Great question. Let's fire up real quick. You guys have probably done this before, and if you haven't, this is a great place to learn how. I went to Kali.org or whatever it is, and downloaded Kali Linux, right? And now I'm running an operating system within an operating system. Here in a moment, this is going to fire up, and you're going to see that it has Windows and a command line, and it's an operating system within an operating system. Yes, I use the super secure password of Kali for Kali. I try and take this thing down a lot and then put it back up. But anyway, so this is where we're at, right? We've got a I'm running this full-on operating system within my operating system. It is a virtual machine. It is a machine that is being virtualized on another computer, aka a hypervisor. So that's what a VM is. Now we're going to go back to that question, and it's asking, well, there's a lot of overhead. So pretend you're a company and you want to have one server that's hosting a virtual machine, Linux web server. Maybe you have a SQL server that's on another virtual machine. That means you need to have hardware that can appropriately host each machine, right? I'm still using, yes, this is an operating system and it has its own memory, but at the end of the day, I'm still using the hardware memory that I have. Right, so this is a full-on, there's my PNPT stuff. I've got viruses downloaded on here. I've got some malware that I like to play with that I have down here. There's some word lists. This is Kali Linux. This is just I've used Kali. I miss it. Oh man, it's been a while. See? Yeah, spun up fast. That was VirtualBox for free. I have VMware Pro, and this is what I love about VirtualBox is I could just drag and drop files over from my host machine to this machine. For being free, I did like the whole PNPT with VirtualBox and loved it. All my home labs are built in VirtualBox. I did PJPT on VMware. I really enjoyed this for this next go, but we'll keep it running in the background.
I think you got to change a setting though to be able to drag and drop that stuff.
Yeah, it actually for me on VirtualBox did it not to contradict. Yeah, it did it out of the box.
Then I may have turned it off because at one point I couldn't do it.
Oh, and then all of a sudden you're like...
And I was like, why can't I not drag and drop?
All right, so we just kind of talked about installing virtual machines for each system. I want to deploy a bunch of different apps, and you mean I got to run them on a separate... Everyone has to run on a VM? Well, if I'm trying to run an enterprise, that's going to get resource heavy really quick, thinking management level, and that's also going to get expensive, right? If you're trying to do something on virtualize it all the time, right? Well, RTOS, we'll start at the bottom. That stands for real-time operating system. We can think of real-time operating systems in things that need to transmit that need real-time. So vehicles, military equipment, different OT and ICS industrial control systems. That's going to be our real-time operating systems. Does that have anything to do with saving resources or securely deploying applications? So we can scratch that one off. Proxy. Well, what's a proxy? Think of a proxy as a middleman. A lot of companies will use a proxy server so that if you're going to the internet from your company, you're actually not going out to the internet. You're hitting a proxy, which is like that middleman, whether you're using a forward proxy, reverse proxy. So this has more to do with security than deploying apps, right? Well, let's look at IoT. Well, we can scratch that one off completely. If I'm answering this coming into it cold, and I see the best way to deploy these applications, BSEC, I'm going with probably either proxy or containerization.
I'm not proxy.
Honestly,
for me looking at this, there's only one answer.
Right.
That's just me. IoT has nothing to do with any of this. This is Internet of Things, which when you talk about IoT, you're talking about your random little things like your air conditioning controller, your right. Refrigerator, all the stupid little things you have around the house. That's your IoT stuff. Did we say what RTOS was?
Yeah, real-time. I went over real-time operating system.
So that's just the operating system in itself. What this breaks down to is understand, and this kind of comes to Christopher Hannon's question. What are the benefits of setting up a hypervisor network over some actual physical hardware? The whole point of having hypervisor is what Jesse was explaining. So if you go buy a server, go buy in an enterprise network, what you're going to do, or an enterprise area, you're going to go buy an expensive server. You're not just going to buy out of the box, hey, go to Best Buy and I'm going to get a big computer. I'm going to turn that into a server. You're going to buy a server. You're going to contact Dell. You're going to contact IBM, whomever, right? You're going to buy this server, and more than likely you're going to buy a storage system or network storage system with it and have all of your hard drives. And that specific server is probably going to have 100 or 200 CPUs in it. They're hypervised CPUs. So you might have one or two CPUs that then have 24 cores apiece, but then those 24 cores are hypervised. So that's a 48 core. So now you're looking at 48 core. You're almost up to 100 CPUs on one device. It doesn't take 100 CPUs to run a device, or to run one computer, or to run one server. So on that server, now you're going to split those into different computers. So I might build a Linux box that's running a web server and add one or two of those virtual CPUs. I might have 50 of those running.
Yep.
And that way 50 machines now have 1 or 2 CPUs in them. Within that whole, this gets into a longer talk, but within that whole thing, you can have a network in between itself that's then connected to your physical network. So what it's allowing you to virtualize everything at minimal cost, so to say. Less cost than what it would to go buy. I mean, Jesse, the server he's got up here is a tiny little server. What I'm talking about is like a $30,000 server.
It's $3,000. It's $3,000, and what does it have?
That's nothing. That won't
40
do
cores.
anything.
40 cores. It has 32 gigs of RAM. Well, you can get it up to a 12 terabyte, which is dope.
Right.
But I mean, so going back to the question, which is asking, I'm a business owner and I want to get applications spun up, but I don't want to install them on a virtual machine for each system.
I don't want to go buy $3,000 servers.
Right. And so we're going to take Christopher's question to the next level. So we're talking, so you're asking, what I understand, Christopher, is you're saying, well, how is a hypervisor network over an on-prem network, right? So now this question is taking, well, I'm going to give you the answer. How is a containerized environment in the cloud better than a virtual machine? And that's what this question is asking is, well, how can I deploy a bunch of applications, but I don't want to put a virtual machine for every system? That's where we get into cloud and containerization, right? Kubernetes, Docker, we're putting these little containers. You can spin them up, you can snap them down. They're very, very, what's the word? Modular, you know?
Yep. In reality, what you're doing here is you're actually building a single virtual machine and running containers within that virtual machine. So you're actually running small microservices off of a container in that machine multiple times over. And the big thing with containers is that you're able to tear them down and build them back up, tear them down, build them back up real quick, real easy. And it can, there are some security factors with them, but it is more secure that you're able to build a system up and tear it down, or be flexible when it comes to like having a bigger network or a bigger core system, because you're able to build up more at a time. There you go.
Right. Just basically to the T what DJ BSEC said, but here in visual for you visual learners. Here's our virtualized applications. Well, we've got our infrastructure. So let's just say my house, the computer here. Then we have our hypervisor built in, whether it's 1 or 2, which just means basically one is dedicated to only being a hypervisor, and one is you're running it on like you're already on your Windows, on your operating system, right? Well, each virtualized application, you need to have a guest operating system, then the application, then the virtual machine. That's going to get resource intensive. When we look at containerized applications over here on my right, we see the infrastructure, the host operating system, and then we're going to use Docker for this example. And on Docker, we've got our applications. You see, these are all containered, and we can, just like BSEC said, we can spin them up. We can provision them, deprovision them, whatever lingo you want to use for that. So saving time, saving resources, increasing security, all things that a business manager likes to hear when we're talking about the bottom line.
It also gets into a lot more like infrastructure as code, applications. You're actually building everything up with code. So you're able to click a button, throw it to the CI/CD pipeline, bring everything up, bring it back down. It's quick, it's easy. I'm surprised after we've said all this that nobody in here said, well, yeah, but you're putting all your eggs into one basket. Because what happens if that server crashes? Then you just lost 50 machines. Because that would be part of the CIA triad. Because you would have the availability of those machines would be gone. And that's why you usually run 2 to 3 machines that are simultaneous. They're basically mirrors of each other.
Redundant.
With a NAS in between or a SAN in between that actually houses all the hard drives and houses all of the data. And those machines, the servers themselves, are just the core machines. So they're just the CPUs, they're just the memory. And you build those machines to be able to handle 100% failover. Usually you run those 2 machines, so they're only running at about half mass. And then if something does happen, or when you're in a maintenance window where you turn one off and everything migrates over to there, you're able to patch this whole system over here that's quote unquote in maintenance mode, bring it back up, fail everything over to that one, patch everything on that server, and then once that one's back up and out of maintenance mode, then you are able to split everything across. I'm surprised nobody actually said that. brought that up. Hey,
Really, you're hitting us with some straight nice networking information. For some of BSEC, if you would be so kind, for maybe the people that are just getting to Slate Security Plus and haven't had time to dive into Net Plus, can we talk about just a little bit real quick, high level, what's NAS and SAN?
so a NAS stands for network attached storage, and a SAN would be a storage attached network, kind of backwards there. A network attached storage is more than like it's going to be your hard drive. So think about having a computer. You're going to have a computer at your desk, the computer that you're on currently, but it has no hard drives in it. Or it may have like a 14 gig hard drive in it that's just running an operating system. And then all of your data is over in your other room on a whole bunch of a server, quote unquote server, that has a whole bunch of hard drives in it. That's a NAS because it's over the network. A SAN, storage attached, means that that's actually attached to the devices or to the servers, and usually that's attached through like a SCSI or iSCSI cable, 12 gigs over. You get the way we are with networks now, that we're able to get 10 gig over Ethernet cable up to 40 gig, 100 gig connections. We're at the speed now in data centers where the network is faster than what the hard drives are allowed to push, and therefore you can use NAS all over the place, and it is extremely fast. But it allows you to put all your quote unquote put all your eggs in one basket, put it over in one spot, so that if your server crashes, all you gotta do is bring another server online and attach to it.
Look at this little knowledge bomb. I don't want to slaughter your name, so I'm not going to try, but if you want to... Aji? Tengzidal says, storage-oriented network, not storage-attached network, so named because of the zoning functions as part of the configuration.
To each his own. Everybody calls it a SAN or an NAS.
Yep, I hear that a lot. All right, let's rock. We are getting towards the end of tonight's session. It is our Thursday Slate Security Plus night, which on the back end for the Johnson family means it is our night of, I think, burgers tonight and then Mario Party, or the one where you race. My brain is turning into goo.
Mario Kart?
Yeah, it's family game night. So we're going to do one more question. We're going to wrap it up. Let's hit it. Final question of tonight's review. A company owns a time clock appliance, but the time clock doesn't provide any access to the operating system, and it doesn't provide a method to upgrade the firmware. Which of the following describes this appliance? A, end of life. B, ICS or industrial control systems. C, SDN or software defined networking. Or D, embedded systems. For us, it's watching Inside Out 1, so we can watch the new one tomorrow. Oh, yes, FedEx. I love the first Inside Out. I can't wait for the second one to come out. It's going to be good. They added a new emotion, I think, or two. Okay, well, let's talk about the answers that are not, right? So we've got a time clock. It says it's got access to an operating system. It's got some things. We're not taught, we don't see any date. We don't see legacy equipment. We don't see anything about unsupported or patches in the question. So we can take end of life off as an option. I see ICS as an option for industrial control systems. Company owns a time clock appliance, but the time clock doesn't provide access to the operating system. It doesn't provide a method to upgrade firmware. Which of the following describes this appliance? I know we probably maybe want to go to ICS, but I caution you, and let's look a little deeper. Software-defined networking doesn't fit that, but what does? We see embedded systems. Google embedded systems and see if that is close to what we're looking at. Space Tacos, BSEC, I think this is for you. Misty-Eyed said, thank you, BSEC, for explaining. You're very welcome, Misty-Eyed. Space Tacos says, wait, what's the SDN again, or software-defined networking?
Yeah, is she asking about SDN, or is she talking about what we were talking about before?
NAS and SAN and SDN.
SDN is software-defined network, so that's usually orchestrated network across somewhere. You're doing it over, you have some orchestrator that you're setting everything up and then pushing everything out.
Ha, nice. Well, we'll let you get back to the movie. FedEx, thanks for spending part of your Thursday family evening with us at Slate Security Plus. Let's reveal this answer. Boom. See what the survey's saying. Okay. See, I had a feeling ICS would get some of us because I can see why you would. I can see why you think can't access it. When I think of an industrial controlled system, I don't know enough, but I don't think of interfaces, or I think of it is the way it is.
Yeah, but you can access it through IDs. So
yeah, and ICSs, I'm sure there's I don't know. I'm not going to talk anymore because I don't know enough. Embedded systems. An embedded system often does not provide access to the operating system and may not provide a method of upgrading the system firmware.
Most of the time with ICS, that stuff is usually on its own network. And usually to get to that, you've got to go through a HID or a human interface device. Or... Oh, so I'm interesting. Okay. It just popped up on here. You're in first place. Amazing.
You're like, I'm winning. Guys, wow. Look at that. You guys were slaying it tonight. Huge improvement on domain 3. Big improvement. So whether you're Googling them, I don't care. You're improving, and it shows to me that you're learning something. Manny Cadiz says, good evening, fellas. Talk of burgers and making my tummy grumble. Manny, hopefully I'll talk to you on the flip side. Enjoy that evening with the family. For DJ BSEC and myself, we're going to sign off of Slay Security Plus. BSEC, do you have anything for our Slayer to leave them with?
Check us out in the morning over on Jerry's. I think tomorrow is Friday, and we kind of try to do a panel Friday. We'll see if that comes to fruition tomorrow. Maybe Jesse will actually wake up and be part of it.
I'll be on it. I got the approval from the boss to make noise in the morning, so I will be on the panel tomorrow morning.
So we'll be screaming and yelling with probably Eric and Joseph, and maybe even Jerry might.
Maybe we can get Jenny to come on. Maybe we can even get Kimberly to come on.
Maybe we get Kimberly to come on. She did last time. Yeah, awesome. Last time I wasn't able to make it, so y'all in the morning, jump on.
Daily Cyber Threat Brief, Dr. Jerry Ozier, Simply Cyber, Google it. Talk about what is going on in the cyber world. Again, just like this, building community, building mentorship, friendships.
Tonight was a lot of study, and tomorrow morning we'll be going through the news, but then we'll have jaw jacking and we'll be able to answer more of your questions. So if you had any questions that weren't answered tonight, you can definitely throw them in and we'll get them tomorrow morning. Yep.
I'm here. I'm feeling pretty confident in my cyber abilities, especially at that hitting that, that mark. People I saw a question when do you know when you're ready to move from I guess IT into cyber? And I don't know that you do or don't know, but you just there's just things that I can't explain it. You just know. You're like, I'm not trying to, when you're trying to learn a concept as well as take the test at the same time, it can be really hard. If you're having a problem with this stuff, I'm going to leave you with this tidbit. Jump on here. I'm going to leave you with an actionable link because it's so super, and I've done this before, and I say this ad nauseum, you got to get your hands dirty. You have to go through labs and understand, pen testing is not an entry-level career field, right? You need to know at a basic level what's going on under the hood. I'm going to send you this. I did quite a few of these. I didn't get through all of them. Not gonna lie, but I did get through quite a few of them. Ooh, they changed it. These are free Security Plus labs, right? They're from 601, but it doesn't matter.
You're not showing anything.
Go through the lab. They're great. They're free. Credential harvesting, using site cloning, right? It walks you through setting up a fake website. I think in this case, it's Facebook or something, right? You're cloning a site. You're logging in. You're getting to see on the back end what it looks like. Even if it's not going on your resume, you're actually kind of doing the work, right? Conduct a cross-site scripting attack. Well, that's not Security Plus. It really is. Using traceroute in Linux. How to SSH into a server from a Linux machine. This is all hands-on stuff that is absolutely free at no cost. VirtualBox, free. Kali, free. A Windows Server, free. Windows 10, free. Just get the what is it, BSEC, when you want to like see if you like it or not? What do they call that? You get to try it out. It's a 3-month
trial. Oh, give it a trial phase. Yeah.
Yep. So there's some free labs.
Yes, Trevor, in the morning, totally bring that job up. Watch Jerry go crazy.
Please do. All right, I hear my daughter crying. BSEC, no jaw jacking for you and I. I got to run, take care of family. Let's go. You are Slay Security Plus. I am Jesse J, aka the Cosmic Cowboy. From myself and the man, the myth, the legend, DJ BSEC. Have a wonderful night, y'all.